Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
On the Kashmir Road, the Order of the Heron have met Llewellyn, the elf, who has recognised Augustus for who he truly is.
I was expecting to collect you from the port of Carnelia to the east. Your arrival on the Kashmir Road is unexpected. Were you trying to travel incognito with such an unusual story from Simon Slubbins here?
Slubbins' story is merely a ruse we typically use to waylay a carriage and understand who's on board before I reveal myself. I was not precisely travelling incognito, but it makes sense when travelling in a small group not to advertise my wealth and position. I must admit I'm rather confused by the idea that I should be met at the port. I've not put to sea in some time. Who gave you this message?
It is from Wolf Eriksson himself. He told me to venture out far to the east to collect you. He was absolutely sure you would arrive on a sailing vessel. I mean, it is good news for me. I do not wish to make such a long-distance travel, you know? But, I mean, I have orders. I've been told to take you to your official residence. The great Warden Eriksson has gifted you the chance to stay in the most luxurious accommodation Lumathorn has to offer. It is Elmander Porn's old townhouse.
Well, that is well. I cannot imagine who gave the message that I should be arriving by boat. I sense some sort of trickery afoot, although I cannot understand why someone would seed such a lie. Perhaps I will ask Eriksson this myself.
He seems to know what is going on, so he may be the best person to speak to. If you're ready to leave, you may get on the stagecoach now.
Yes, I would be grateful, and my entourage would like to join.
Of course, I was not expecting an entourage. Warden Eriksson made sure to ask me to tell you that your every want will be catered for. And he reaches into his top and pulls out a letter, which he hands to you. This is a letter of marque. You may present it to anyone or anywhere around all of Frosthollow, and you will get whatever it is you need. On Warden Eriksson, of course.
Very well, that's much appreciated, and I apologise for my appearance and that of my men. They may appear a disgusting ragtag group, but I assure you they have talents buried beneath the dirt.
It is not my position to judge these things, but I do have spare letter of marques, and he hands them over. You'll notice that the names are empty. All you need do is enter their names, and they may present it to anyone around town to get whatever goods and wares they need also.
Thank you.
Are you ready to depart?
Yes, we have travelled long, and it's been weary in this weather and this strange forest, so it'll be a welcome break to find ourselves back in quality accommodation.
Of course, and for 2 weeks also, until the succession proclamation.
Quite. Says Augustus, thinking what the fuck's going on, but doesn't say so because clearly he's meant to know about this.
Let us leave.
And Augustus kind of looks at Vander and kind of glances up at the kind of driver's seat to see whether he thinks Vander, as our most humble person and therefore maybe least likely to travel in the carriage, might want to get up alongside the driver and get something out of him as we go.
The hood nods at you as Vander was originally in the coach, and he stiffly clambers out and makes his way painfully to the side where the driver's seat is, and then looks at Tock.
He'll be fine out there. Tock will climb onto the back of the stagecoach.
And the stagecoach sags under his weight.
Petren walks round to the front where the horses are and just says, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. You've got a lovely mane there. You're looking wonderfully glossy. I'm gonna hop on board if that's all right. I hope that's okay with you. I hope the weight's not too much of a bother, but thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for your kindly letting us have this trip. It's very much appreciated. And then goes around the side of the carriage to get in.
Vander, realising he's not going to get any help, struggles to get up onto the side of the stagecoach, but eventually manages to plop himself next to the driver.
This is a fine coach indeed. You are lucky to be driving such an incredible specimen.
Thank you, Simon Slubbins. And he cracks the reins and you take off.
Wow.
So how long have you been in the employ of the prince?
My family have ever been in the employ of the prince as far back as my father's father's father.
I see. It is the family honor passed down from generation to generation.
A great honor, as you say. I presume you are also honored to be in the presence of His Eminence.
Of course, I am used to dealing with high-ranking individuals. I obviously am in the employ of Warden Eriksson himself.
How very interesting. I don't suppose the history of one as lowly as myself is of any import, so do tell me more of this Frosthollow.
Frosthollow is the jewel of the north. It is the capital of Lumatorn, the 10th realm of Cantioch. And it is ruled over by Warden Eriksson. He is a great man. He helped Lumatorn after the Storm's Fall ribbon. Time and time again he has proven himself to the people of Frosthollow and beyond. Some think he's a little eccentric, but he always took a keen interest in me, promoting me up the ranks of the Blue Cloaks to where I am now, personal valet to the Warden.
A fine position, one I would never myself aspire to. So tell me, this Wolf Eriksson, a great man you say, but eccentric. What pray do you mean by that rather interesting phraseology?
It is interesting when you have people of such power and talent. They do not see the world in the same way that the common folk like myself do. He is often keen to understand exactly what motivations drive other people, whereas I just assume that when people tell me something that it is the truth, but he is able to see through lies quite convincingly.
Yes, well, if Eriksson sees far, then he has seen greatness in you, my friend. So this comment would reflect well on you.
Thank you. That is very kind, Simon. I appreciate it.
Slubbins is ever the complimenter. It is a trait of my line. So, this Frosthollow and this place you take us to, fine accommodation, I understand.
Yes, it is Pawn's townhouse. It is 3 stories. It used to belong to Warden Eriksson's personal physician, Elmander Pawn. He mysteriously disappeared a few years ago. But it is the finest accommodation that there is in all of Lumatorn. There is plush bedrooms. You will have all of the food and drink that you want. His Grace must be taken care of, no matter what. He is an important part to play in the weeks ahead.
Yes, I take a particular interest in sanitation, and I will be interested to see how you deal with the matter here. On a connected note, my family also possess a number of grave diggers. I was wondering, is there a cemetery I may visit?
There is a cemetery, yes, to the north in the old Dwarven district. There are also crypts. It is not somewhere where I would spend my time, but entrance to the crypts can be found near to the Whispering Lute, which is an inn of ill repute.
I see. I would be most fascinated to see such a place.
That is fine. Once you are settled in, you will have free reign of the city. The letter of marque that His Grace will be filling out for you will gain you access to anywhere in all of Frosthollow.
How intriguing. And if I were to enter one of these establishments of ill repute, could I use such a letter to acquire a drink?
Of course.
More than one drink?
As many drinks as you can handle.
I think this will be a most interesting expedition. Well, may I say you handle this coach very well.
Thank you. And he cracks the reins again and you speed up.
I was hoping you would do that. And Vander settles back in the seat.
Petren, sitting in the plush compartment, looking a bit uncomfortable, glances around himself and says, Augustus?
Yes, Petren.
Our friend on the front there, I thought his name was Vander.
Petren, yes. Our friend is named Vander, but we concealed that because we did not know who this cart driver was. We may be known, even wanted, by some of the darker forces in this realm.
Right. And he seems to think you're some sort of king or a prince or something like that. Is that right?
Well, it's a rather long story, Petren, but many of my ancestors have indeed been kings. My own case is a little less clear.
Though you don't introduce yourself that way. You don't like to sort of talk about it. Is that right?
That's right. The kingdom was defeated and overthrown by the Emperor Salazar from across the ocean. And so to give my name is to court danger, as allies of Salazar may wish harm to me.
So this pretend names business, I think so, Cuthbert. Is it a bit like camouflage?
Yes, exactly. You should certainly join in, Petren. It's rather fun. I sometimes go under Lord Radagard's loom.
I see. So in the forest, I might make myself look inconspicuous or a bit like something different, and you do the same amongst people. Right, I think I've got it, thanks. You see, Cuthbert, I told you it'd be something straightforward. And he sits back in his chair.
We're going to get this innocent killed.
He's so dead.
He is 1,000% dead.
The landscape passing you by barely changes. For hours you travel surrounded by snow-covered forests as you are navigated along the Kashmir Road. Then, the dirt path is replaced with marble cobblestones as you approach the gigantic city of Frosthollow, the jewel of the north. The forest on either side disappears, and in its place, a number of rickety shack-like buildings filled with common folk going about their business loudly and openly. The high quality of the path does not match the low quality of these buildings. No one, however, pays you any attention, obviously used to strangers. A large gated battlement rises ahead of you, going up over 200 feet in the air, imposing and obviously designed for the best protection available. You pass at speed through two enormous wooden doors with a portcullis lifted high into the gate. The tops of the battlements are so high up they're obscured by thick mist. From the head of the stagecoach, Llewellyn calls back to you through a sliding slit. "We have reached the city, Your Grace. Welcome to Frosthollow." Welcome one and all to Dice Company Small Embers Chapter 57, where a group of friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Tom and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of the Prince of Gothamer and his three useless servants. Prince of Gothamer and three useless servants, please introduce yourselves and tell us one fun fact about your characters.
Hi, I'm Alex and I'm playing Fabian Augustus Zeno Denothlian, Prince of Gothamer, an all-round smashing chap. But my fact today is not about Augustus, it's about Alex.
Oh.
Metagaming does even exist in this
Peanut
world.
gallery, strike it from the record.
Yes! It's going to be a weird campfire chat in character.
This is going to be weird, but I promise there's a Dice Company related payoff. I trained as a school teacher in an unsuccessful post-university thing that happened in my life and that I rarely speak of now. But during that unhappy year of training as a school teacher, I sat at the back of one teacher. Hang on, let me say this again. Very blocked up.
Why weren't you a success in teaching?
No, it's amazing. It's incredible.
Crucified too many kids.
Well, they do frown on that in education.
I think we found the payoff.
During my time training as a school teacher, I was still a young university graduate, very nervous. And one of the schools I went to, you get assigned to various teachers to help with their classes. And one of the teachers basically pulled me aside at the beginning and said, my job depends on these kids getting good grades. So I'm not going to let you say a single word in my class, basically. You just have to sit there and don't tell your tutor, but I just don't want you to do anything. So I have to endure that, like, a couple of lessons a week of just sitting and saying nothing at the back of like an A-level history class or whatever it was. So like for our overseas listeners, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds learning history. And I just had to sit there and not say anything. And I later met the mum of one of the kids that was in that class. And she said that the kids in that class, a group of girls in that class had come up with like a character for me, like who I was, and like had created a myth and a legend about who is this guy in the back of the class, which is a fair question, right? But the reason I can't believe I haven't mentioned this before in Dice Company is that I still remember the name they gave me, and that name was Benny.
No!
Not a word of a lie. I swear to God. They never called it to me, but when I discovered this, because the mum of one of those kids I met as a teacher in the next school I got assigned to, so I kind of had a quick, way to follow up. And she said, "Oh, you're the one that they call Benny."
I thought you were going to say Fabian Augustus.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, imagine the specificity of that.
They called me the firstborn of Denothilia.
How many years did they think you'd been held back?
They knew I was on teacher training, but they didn't understand why I didn't get to do any teaching. I didn't understand why I didn't get to do any teaching. But yeah, it was a bleak time, and I reckon actually Benny Quez is rather more chirpy than I was in those lessons. It's quite humiliating.
It begs the question, what kind of person do you name Benny when you don't know what their actual characteristics are?
I mean, I think I would have looked like, basically, I would have been like early 20s or even mid-20s, or I don't know, like 24 maybe. But I think I would have looked every bit like an in-betweener in the sense of the TV show The In-Betweeners, just a like catastrophically awkward young man, just not knowing at all what I was doing there. Because I'd literally just done A-level history and I wasn't taking an exam at the end of this class. So I did not need to be there like learning A-level history. But obviously the rest of the school needed to think that I was in there learning how to be a teacher. So this teacher was like, "No, you can't do that. You just sit there, please." Actually, it was really kind of mean. Yeah. But when you turn up and you're the little work experience person, you just do what you're told, don't you?
Was it quite a posh school? Because if one of the people in there taking GCSE history turned around and said, "What a catastrophically awkward young man," I feel like
I'm not
His name is Benny.
I didn't put that exact internal monologue into their head. It would have been like some girls who were like 17 or 18. I don't imagine they thought those exact words. But if they said, if you'd gone in and said, "Could you point to a catastrophically awkward young man in this room?" every single head would have turned towards me. It's like an American high school film, like why is that one guy over there like 25 years old
in a place where teenage neuroses are at their height? That may be the worst thing you could ever do, which is walk into any class and say, "Please everyone point at the most catastrophically awkward."
Howdy do, fellow kids.
There's a list to the space-time continuum. The only way to block it is with a catastrophically awkward young man.
Sadly, just light the fuse on that particular time bomb. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I play Tock, an imposing 6'8" automaton. So Tock doesn't eat food, but he carries many days' rations for the rest of the party. The meat bags with the agglomerations of, yeah, exactly. Anyway, but the rations he carries includes several days' worth of dog biscuits. But Tock has checked Lenny's collar and the connection to the demiplane and found nothing.
Oh, certainly a hard right turn.
I'm not sure if I'm expecting Dave to react. Now he's someone new. I mean,
doesn't give a shit.
Well, no, we went through this on a recent extra roll, and I cried all my tears during that period.
Sorry, so to be clear, you've been through the 5 stages of loss, found acceptance, and we can all move on.
Isn't that what extra roll is for?
Yeah, okay. And I can clarify there were 0 tears spilt.
Also, I can clarify that when the DM just now went, "Oh," on the action roll, his tone was quite different. Something along the lines of, "I killed your dog."
Well, let me
I recall.
Let me pay you the weirdest compliment ever. I congratulate you on your efficient grieving.
Oh wow, that is quite
Yep. No one expected that. No, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Dave, please continue. the weirdest round of facts we've ever had.
Super weird.
Oh God. I both really want to use that in real life and also Absolutely do not think
What, efficient grieving?
Congratulations on your efficient grieving.
It's fine. I believe the dog to be okay. Hello, my name's Dave, and I play Petren Oakflower, lurking in a ditch while Vander pretended to be someone called Simon Slubbins. Petren had a realization, which is that when they were in his grove, the team were very careful to kind of check Petren's credentials, his reasons for wanting to go after Wolf Eriksson. But he, in return, did not. And now he is wondering to himself, is this a band of seasoned adventurers, highly efficient, likely to topple a very powerful king like Wolf Eriksson? Or is this simply 3 people who've escaped from an asylum somewhere? They've just gone in to join their merry band.
There's a sanatorium by the sewer entrance.
Yeah, you have gone all in on very little information, haven't you?
Really.
That hollow was really lonely, wasn't it?
It certainly was.
Did anyone else find it weird when he said, "Hi, my name's Dave and I play Petren Oakflower"?
Super weird. Weird.
My brain just snapped in half at that point. I was like, nope, that doesn't work. He plays Benny Quez.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I play Benny, the catastrophically awkward teaching student.
And I play Benny, the catastrophically awkward rogue.
Hopefully Petren cares for animals more than Dave.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I play Vander Finnick, and I'm going to return fact Dave. Vander trusts Petren, but he can't help but wonder if Petren's pet weasel is really just a fluffy sidekick. It's just possible that Cuthbert is the one calling the shots. What does he want? Maybe it's just snacks, or maybe he craves something much darker. After all, what better place for the dark intelligence of a monstrous evil to hide than in the small body of a cuddly weasel called Cuthbert?
It checks.
Okay, so first things first. The fact is amazing, and it reminds me of Ratatouille. But his name is Petren, not Patron.
Patron. Oh, man, it's
not Patreon.
Right?
Are we not shamelessly advertising? I can't tell.
Petren.
Do sign up to the Dice Company podcast Patreon.
There we go. I've also posted a picture in the chat so you can see what I think's going on here.
And if listeners want to see the picture that Charlie has posted in the chat of Cuthbert, we will post it on our social media.
That is a weasel you shouldn't trust.
I know that as well.
Please remember, people who cease to believe in gods and goodness still believe in the devil. Evil is always possible, and goodness is eternally hard. So let's turn the page to the next chapter of Dice Company. Previously on Dice Company, you met a new friend, Petren Oakflower, who has agreed to join you on your mission to destroy Warden Wolf von Eriksson. As you braved the misty and snowy wilds of Lumitorn and encountered an elf called Luwarin, who recognized Augustus as the Prince of Gothamer, revealing that he was a special guest of Eriksson for an upcoming ceremony. He has brought you to the gates of Frosthollow, the Jewell of the North. You pass the buildings beyond the gate, which immediately change from low-end quality tenements and shacks to neatly built and well-maintained pillbox houses with thatched roofs, each a different colour. Some of these buildings have a beautiful array of flowers and neatly painted front doors. The temperature rises inside the battlements too, from the familiar iciness of Lumitorn to a far more clement temperature inside. The stagecoach rattles up Crickhandle Street, which boasts armourers, blacksmiths, woodworkers, tailors, sculptors and butchers, to name a few. You take a right at the city square, which has an enormous, slightly eroded statue of a great unnamed warrior, across a bridge into a district of obvious wealth and high-profile individuals. Even as the sun begins to set, it's beautiful. Luwarin turns to Vander and says, "We are approaching the townhouse," and he gestures at a magnificent 3-story building with a painted white exterior.
As the coach pulls up outside the house, Vander leans over and pulls the handbrake. As he turns back, he simply says,
Beginner's luck.
Very impressive.
It's a very clean place you have there. Most magnificent, must have phenomenal sanitation.
I'm sure. I have never stayed there myself. It belongs to Wolf, of course.
I see. Well, we should go in and see what delights await.
And he opens the slit. Your Grace, we're here.
Thank you, Llewellyn.
And he gets off the stagecoach and opens the door and hands you, Augustus, a set of keys. These keys will let you into the building. You will note on the table as you enter are a list of your appointments for tomorrow. Your retinue have the whole city at their disposal should you need them to run any errands while you attend your appointments.
Thank you, Llewellyn. That's interesting. And Augustus kind of raises an eyebrow at that, wondering about how these appointments have been arranged and who arranged them on his behalf. Presumably someone pretending to be the first son of Denothier. And then Augustus takes the keys and strides up towards the door.
Llewellyn calls after you. Is there anything else you need from me this evening?
I do not think so, my good man. Thank you for your kindness.
Llewellyn may have noticed that I'm significantly bigger than I was when he first met me.
As you step out of the stagecoach, Petren, he looks up at you. Goodness me. And then he reaches up to help Vander down.
Vander accepts the assistance and alights, and then moves to get as close to the front door as he can without appearing to be too eager to get inside.
And Llewellyn departs. So you guys open the front door. Augustus, you open the front door. Step into a beautiful marbled interior to the townhouse. There's a central staircase which leads up and splits off in two directions, left and right. And there are a number of doors both to the left and right of where you currently stand. It's very deep and obviously goes up very high. You know that there's 3 stories here.
Gentlemen, I think we need to search this place for any clue as to what has been agreed on my behalf and how it came to be that they expected us to be here, or some version of me to be here. I suspect, gentlemen, that the shapeshifter that killed Kaelin, who said he, she, it would come to this continent and cause trouble for my family, I suspect that creature may be behind this. But let us see what we can find from this list of appointments and anything else we can find in this building to find out what role that creature had been planning to play, what agreement has been made on my behalf with Ericsson.
Your logic is very sound, Augustus. Search this place we must. But first, I want to pick my room.
And Vander begins shuffling madly towards the stairs.
Augustus rolls his eyes and goes looking for this list of appointments.
Would you like to do an investigation check on the whole house as a team?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Like helping one of us rolls at advantage, or how do we do it?
So one of you can roll at advantage. You can decide who.
And I will guide you.
My God!
Snap. In which case, Tock will do some rolling.
How are you guiding?
I will use my expertise in finding tricky things amongst the forests, foraging for food and spotting animals to guide you as to how to find difficult things.
Nice.
Wonderful. Tock will roll his +8.
Oh, hello.
Damn.
That's your on investigation, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, hit it. So investigate at advantage with guidance.
With guidance. Roll the d4 then, Petren.
Yeah.
That'll be a 28.
Fuck off. It's so impossibly high all the time.
And now the Dice Company 1 hour inventory of items in the townhouse. Enjoy for Patreons, for Petren subscribers.
This is that server you can never afford to on the new house you want, isn't it?
So the house itself is set up, and it's obviously been set up as like a hotel. So all the rooms are fastidiously cleaned, in great condition. All the beds are perfectly made. There are 6 beds in total. The largest room is at the very top on the 3rd floor, which encompasses almost the entirety of the 3rd floor of the townhouse. It's huge. Tock, while you're investigating into the basement, which has a lot of empty storage boxes, you find a lever. When you pull the lever, the stone wall slides open and you discover a perfectly well-stocked laboratory full of lots of kind of glass containers, all sorts of different types of chemicals, herbs and spices in bags. There are a number of notes meticulously maintained, and all of them have the signature at the end, which reads Elmander Pawn.
Bottles alert.
Yes.
Dark room full of bottles.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to say, I do love the fact that shiny red button style, you didn't say, do you want to pull the lever? You said, when you pull the lever.
I mean, let's not pretend you're not pulling the lever. I left you half a second to say it, and then I just assumed.
Dude. I mean, I was going to jump in, but... Tock will alert the others, of course, but at the same time is going to go and investigate all of the things in the lab. So actually, as the others come down, as Augustus walks into the lab, Tock will say, Augustus, a room full of bottles, as Madame Bastra predicted.
What did she say, Tock? That's where you'll find something about knowledge to understand our enemy.
The reading was Guild Member, History, Better Understanding Enemy, Dark Room Full of Bottles. That is where you will find knowledge to better understand your enemy.
Who do we suppose our enemy is? I would have said in this city it's Ericsson, but it seems odd that the very house he has given us would contain some... Well, I suppose it could contain knowledge of him in some way, but it seems unlikely that he would give us any great key to defeat him.
Well, he's doing experiments to find out his own strengths and weaknesses, perhaps. Maybe he thinks there's something that he can work on to give him extra strength that could also be used against him.
Very good.
That is likely, Petren. The human ways are often illogical.
Certainly true, says Augustus, thinking of Vander, banging open doors upstairs looking for the biggest bed or whatever. Riverview room.
It's a bit peanut gallery, but you're so right. Says Vander.
Also in your search, Augustus, you find a small book which is sat on a table in the entrance lobby. I probably should have led with that, but the roll was so big, I thought I'd go to the juicy stuff first. As you open it up, the first page reads Prince Fabian's appointments. 10 a.m., Aloysius Cartier-Bouton, Vintners Guild. 11 a.m., Castilian Colloon, Merchant. And then 12 noon, Luncheon from Mrs. Morgan.
And this is for the following day, right?
Correct.
What sort of time is it now? Sorry.
So it's about 7 o'clock at night.
So Augustus takes this book to everyone else. Is everyone... I guess Tock's down in the bottles room beginning his sort of analysis. So Augustus goes down there and hopefully finds Petren and Vander too.
Sadly, Vander's upstairs.
Okay.
Petren's down in the cellar, and as you come down, he says, "Has anybody claimed this room for your bedchamber?"
The bottles room.
It's just this cellar area. It reminds me of my cave. I thought it might be quite a nice place to sleep. I was wondering if anyone else wanted to claim it before I put my name down.
Well, I suspect you might have to put up with a certain amount of clinking from our friend Tock here, but I'm sure the two of you will be extremely happy down here.
If you're sure you don't mind, if you wouldn't rather have it.
I would find sleep to be acceptable.
Oh, thank you, Tock.
Very good, Tock.
Vander, you get to the third floor of the townhouse, and what you have is a huge open-plan bedroom. There's a massive 4-poster bed, the windows on 3 sides, massive bay windows which overlook the city, although at the moment it's shrouded in mist, so the view is not that impressive. There is a chamber pot to the side of your bed. And on the desk in the corner, you notice a document entitled Succession Proclamation.
Vander surveys the room and goes to look at the document.
Good choice. I thought you were going for the chamber pot.
It reads, Fabian de Nothlian will sign the document recognising Warden Ericsson as the rightful king of Cantioch. With Cantioch finally reunited, the peace treaty with Athlon will apply to all of the lands within Cantioch. Emperor Salazar himself will arrive on the autumn equinox, the 22nd of Lavaton, to witness the coronation and the rebirth of Cantioch.
Subtle, Vander remarks, whilst reviewing the paper and placing it back on the desk.
Well, important matters to attend to.
And I'm looking for... I'm hoping that the top floor of the house has bay windows that open out onto some kind of veranda or some kind of...
Yep, the front bay windows do open up, and there's a small balcony area out there that you could walk out onto.
Okay, well, consistent with a law as old as time itself, Vander claims the bed by throwing his hat on that, and then begins the very slow process of dragging one of what I'm sure are very ornate chairs out onto the veranda.
Dragging one of the high-backed armchairs out there.
Yes.
So you guys can now spend the rest of the evening doing what you wish. So why don't we say that after an hour or so where you've each claimed your rooms, you all gather in the study of Elmander Pawn's townhouse.
We calling that a short rest?
You can have it as a short rest if you want to.
We just had a long rest, didn't we?
I would like a short rest, please.
Nothing rounds off a long rest like a lovely short rest.
It's one of my favourite things.
Dave.
Yeah, one of my favourite things about this group is that you all criticise one another whenever one of you needs a rest, long or short. So I was like, well, I don't need one, so fuck you.
I get a little bit of Firbolg magic back on every short rest.
Okay, got it.
Invisibility, etc., etc.
Okay, so we're sitting down in the study to discuss battle plans, or, non-battle plans. Okay, so Augustus presents the group with the book that had his appointments in it and says, "Gentlemen, does any of this mean anything to you?"
So the two major appointments are Aloysius Cartier-Bouton and Castilian Colloon.
Aloysius is here. He was present on the steam runner, and I had the pleasure of speaking with him in my guise as Gary Pencil. If I remember correctly, he was interested in the brutal murder of Rothkill. That would place him firmly on the side of the Empire.
I give Augustus a nudge and just, in a sort of stage whisper, go, Gary Pencil, camouflage.
Augustus chuckles to himself. "You're getting it, Petren. Have a think about what name you'd like to take tomorrow."
Ooh, I will.
I can supply a list of human names, if that would assist.
That would be very helpful. Thank you, Tock. It's been a while since I became across humans, so naming conventions are a bit out of my depth at the moment. So yeah, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
I can already tell the cellar will be a veritable riot.
Yes, very well. That does sound like one for the cellar folk. Now, gentlemen, I think the first question is, should I, at the very least, and potentially several of us, attend these meetings? If we do not, we can expect someone will come to us to inquire why we are not there. What do you think? And this Aloysius did not see me, because thankfully I was covered in vomit and talking to a pot plant outside his room.
Very true, Lord Sloom. I believe you should indeed keep these engagements as they are an invaluable opportunity for additional knowledge, though I have a revelation of my own. On inspection of the rather fine rooms of the upstairs, I came across a document on which was written that you, the first son of Denotlia, would relinquish your claim to this realm to Wolf Eriksson. I suspect in there we have found his reason for entertaining us in such lavish conditions.
You see a look of fury pass over Petren's eyes, and he kind of spins to Augustus, and you suddenly realise quite how big he is, and quite how imposing probably has to be the word. He says, "You told me he was your enemy."
Calm yourself, Petren. Of course he's our enemy. I've told you, some trickster, some imposter has pretended to be me and made these arrangements.
Indeed, the Mask Weaver is a likely candidate.
Petren, we have met a creature that can change shape and accurately mimic the voice and appearance and even the thoughts of the target that they pretend to be.
How is that possible? What goes against everything natural?
I think we're unlikely to discover anything natural among the ranks of our enemies here. But I think, gentlemen, this gives us an opportunity, because Wolf will surely mean no harm to me if he thinks I'm going to do him such a great favour.
At least for the time being, yes.
There is, of course, one dangerous addition here. Arriving presumably at the port, somewhere to the east, and expecting to be here in time to keep these meetings tomorrow, will be the aforementioned Fabian Denothlian. Until my mimic... Or actually, a mimic's got a D&D meaning else for the podcast. And doppelganger's wrong as well, because that doesn't seem right.
Well, that also has a D&D meaning.
Yeah.
Until the imposter arrives in the city, we have a window of opportunity to work under the shield, under the protection of this false agreement that has been made. So above all, we must not reveal ourselves.
More than a window, Augustus. You wound me. 72 hours is more than enough time to arrange a simple, gruesome murder of one individual.
Of Ericsson, you mean?
No, of your imposter. I see it as most important he never makes the city again.
Very well, Vander. We do not know exactly where this creature will be, and or what form it will take. It may not travel as me.
We only need know that it bleeds.
When I'm in the forest and looking for something to eat, sometimes I don't like it. We don't like it, do we, Cuthbert? But sometimes you've got to kill an animal in order to eat. You don't know where that animal is. It's all about creating the lures so that they come to where you want them to be.
Quite so, Petren. And if I may say, your anger a few moments ago does you credit. I believe we should lay a trap for our imposter friend, and once we have them inside it, we will deal with the matter.
Very wise, both of you. I just would like to clarify for Tock's sake that Petren's talk of eating does not extend specifically to this enemy. We do not intend to eat the Mask Weaver when it arrives.
I am familiar with Vander's murders.
Excellent, Tock, you're learning.
Very well. Vander, do we need to do anything to put this trap in place for now? Or can we turn our attention to Ericsson and these appointments?
Leave the matter with me for the time being, Augustus. I will consider it.
Very well, Vander. So what of the other appointments? Lunch from Mrs. Morgan seems fairly simple. Indeed, it sounds as if it may even be delivered here. Lunch from Mrs. Morgan. What of the other person? Castilian Colloon. Does that name mean anything to anybody? It merely says a merchant.
A hitherto unknown figure.
I suppose it must be something to do with this ceremony. Perhaps a merchant providing clothing or something else related to the planned ceremony that's due to take place.
Agreed. I think it is most important you keep these appointments, Augustus, and should Wolf Ericsson appear, you must keep up the pretense that you plan to sign the document until the time is right to show him otherwise.
Very well. Can anyone guess, if they have knowledge of these Mask Weaver creatures, what its intention was? Was it merely doing this to cause chaos, as it seemed to say to me before it stepped off the Sterling? Or would there be some deeper plan? Would it mean harm to Ericsson? Could we stand aside and let it do that?
We know it was imprisoned by the Empire, so not a friend of theirs.
But nor a friend of ours, since it killed Kaelin and impersonated my sister, and certainly a dangerous creature.
It is possible that were we to place a likeness of your sister in the path of this imposter, they would be forced by their current guise to engage with said target.
How could we do that, Vander?
I wonder about the talents of some of our very useful group members. I turn, of course, to you, Tock, and an interesting skill you presented us just days ago.
Indeed, Vander, I could attempt to pass as Augustus's sister.
As unlikely as that sentence is, yes, that is indeed what you may well do. It is the beginnings of a plan.
I believe Petren may also have this ability.
Well, you see, the problem there, Tock, is I've never met Augustus' sister, so I couldn't tell you what she looks like. In fact, I wasn't aware she existed until this very conversation.
Vander turns to his shoulder.
I suspect Cuthbert has not yet given his permission.
Very well, gentlemen. Well, we have a plan for the short term. We keep these appointments, and I suppose we use them to gather information. Then we can plan our next move based on what we discover.
Then I have one final suggestion. I have found what I would class as this house's version of the poop deck. You are all invited to join Admiral Finnick for exotic cheroots there momentarily, after which I suggest we send out an envoy of sorts to scout the city and see what lies in the night.
Vander, I believe it is called the privy in a human hide.
Of course, Tock, I have momentarily shed the skin of Simon Slubbins, though, so I will leave that comment where it is.
Very well, Vander. I shall join you for a cheroot, as we try to calm our nerves. But we must keep our wits about us. We are certainly not in a safe place or a city of allies.
Petren, can I interest you in the burning of herbs?
Interesting question. Can you interest me in the burning of herbs? Well, like I say, Vander, burning them's not common to me, but when in Frosthollow...
It is a human custom. I have observed many humans burning herbs near their faces.
Quite so, Tock, you old romantic.
You guys head on up to the top floor where you all, three of you, partake in cheroot smoking on the veranda.
As Vander finishes his cheroot,
I must head to my rather lavish bed now, gentlemen. But, Petren, maybe you would like to wander, so to speak.
I'd like that very much, Vander. I have to admit, I'm torn between excitement at being in such a big place and a sense of nervousness. It's so busy, there's so many people, and perhaps a little wander around at night time where it's quiet might be the ideal thing to calm my nerves and get me, familiar with the layout of the place.
I've no doubt you possess the skills to keep yourself out of harm's way,
Vander says, his eye narrowing.
Well then, I bid you good evening, gentlemen.
And Vander makes his way inside.
Tock is going to be in the laboratory investigating all of the notes and seeing what everything is.
All of the information.
Indeed.
Augustus is definitely going to go to bed and recover his energy, but he's going to sleep with a dagger under his pillow and his sword close to hand because he's not comfortable where he is.
Likewise, Vander, when everyone's left and before he goes to bed, he spreads a circle of silver coins around the bed.
Was there anything in particular you were looking for during your venture out?
No, really just heading out to kind of locate myself in a city and just, Petren has never been to anywhere to a place that's anywhere near this size. And so he's just kind of slightly amazed by it. So I just wanted to kind of explore.
Petren, your exploration of the city at night is quiet and subtle. You're able to avoid interaction with any people, and those you do see pay you no mind at all. You cross a bridge to the north of the city, which is made of solid metal inlaid with gold. It's quite unlike anything you've seen before in your grove. Then you walk along the riverfront. You see humans dressed in blue uniforms carrying bladed clubs. They are aggressively dealing with locals, and while there are no actual physical fights, these blue uniformed people are clearly throwing their weight around. In the market square in the centre of the city is a large statue. Its face is worn down through time. It was likely a dwarf based on the beard, but there are no signifiers to who it may have been. You then cross another metal bridge back in the direction of the townhouse.
I guess, so as I head back, I pause on the bridge, crossing the river, and just kind of lean on the railing. And as I look out across the river, I say, well, what have we got ourselves into here then, Cuthbert? What do you make of this? Never been anywhere like this. It's extraordinary, isn't it? What about these folks that we're travelling with now? Do you think we can trust them? Augustus, there's a letter that says he's going to give up the crown to Ericsson. Are you sure that was fake? You think it was fake, Cuthbert? Squeak.
Sorry, squeak, motherfucker.
I know, Cuthbert. I don't know either. I don't know. Well, what's done is done, isn't it? We've just got to go with it, I suppose. All right, let's head back. He heads back to the grand house in the comfort of the cellar.
The only other thing to note during the nighttime period, Tock, is you are able to find a series of notes that refer to Wolf Eriksson as a vampire, along with a series of ways in which you can damage vampires. According to the notes, Wolf Eriksson is resistant to most forms of damage with the exception of psychic damage. He is also prone to attacks made with silver weapons. He is prone to sunlight. He's weaker in sunlight and is weaker in water.
Any water, not just holy water.
Any water. If he's stood in water, he is weakened.
Vampires can't pass water. Noted.
The following morning, you all gather for breakfast in the mighty fine breakfast dining room.
Any other business, gentlemen, before we go and meet this Bouton? Does anyone wish to stay behind or go and do something else?
So Tock will, again, without many social graces, will just launch into a big sort of spiel of the stuff he's learned from the laboratory, specifically about vampires, sort of resistances and such like. But won't actually get to suggesting what you do at all.
Incisive work, Tock. I agree that we should most definitely, subtly, purchase the necessary materials to be most unconsumable to one such as Wolf.
Indeed, weapons may be coated in silver. I know a process.
But of course you do.
It's unsettling. And Petren as well, I'd like to make myself useful as well, but I'm not quite sure that I'm the right person to be coming to meet a fancy gentleman. Might take a bit of explaining.
Very well, gentlemen. Well, what if I attend this meeting with Tock as my bodyguard? Certainly, Bouton will not speak to the automaton, I shouldn't think, but Tock can listen in and see what he can gather from the situation and help if it becomes a fight, which it should not. And then perhaps Vander and Petren can make some other inquiries around the city. If nothing else, they could gather some of these items we may need, particularly the silver for weapons.
A fine idea, Augustus.
And Vander places a parchment on the table.
If you would like me to procure some supplies on your behalf, please do note them down.
Tock will write down on the list 20 yards of black fabric.
I would expect nothing less,
says Vander, eyeing the list. Vander then takes out his flintlock and places it on the table.
I suspect this item may benefit from an upgrade now, Tock. You remember the blueprint I shared?
Indeed, Vander.
I will attempt to use our letters of marque to get the relevant materials, which leads us to another interesting question. What, pray, do you, Petren, and you, Tock, intend to call yourselves while we stay here?
That's my thing with Petren.
Yeah, Petren being his name, not patron.
Fuck you all. Okay, what do you, Petren, and you, Tock, intend to call yourselves whilst we stay here?
Oh, Tock, that's right. They mentioned that you might have a name for me that I could use around the humans.
So Tock will provide a list for you of human names on his little tablet. The first being Slab Bulkhead, Bridge Large Meat, Punt Speed Chunk, Butch Deadlift, Hold Big Flank, Splint Chest Hair, Splint Iron Stag, and Bolt Vander Huge.
Please have your surname as Chest Hair.
I like the sound of Butch Deadlift.
Perfect. It suits you down to the ground, Petren.
Yeah, I look to Augustus and Vander for confirmation that this is a good idea.
Augustus nods enthusiastically.
As does Vander.
Gentlemen, another task while you're out. We've heard tell of the Sepulchre Marsh, who was indeed here when I attended the school in this city. He may be an ally, and I think it is certainly worth visiting him to see what he thinks of Eriksson. Obviously, your inquiries must be subtle.
I am a master of subtlety, Augustus. You may rely on me.
Perhaps defer to Deadlift on that.
We're friends. You can call me Butch.
Well then, Butch, I believe it is time we were off to do our chores.
Right, you are now, Vander. And I think I will use my Firbolg magic to make myself appear, again, a slightly more usual height.
Tock, and I'm sorry to ask this, but if you could play the part of a non-sentient automaton and follow me as in the role of a bodyguard, only speak in basic ways when spoken to, unless we have to break our cover, as I hope we will not need to.
That would be trivial. I would find it to be acceptable.
Thank you, Tock. And Augustus uses his cloak of many fashions to turn himself in, or to turn his attire into that of the understated prince about town. Extremely classy, but not too flashy clothes. So he's going for a dark grey suit and a coal black cloak.
Who are these made by?
Yeah,
it's fairly classy, but not over the top.
yeah, but they must be designed like to look like a design of a famous designer, surely.
Oh, it's in the style of a shop in the kind of side streets of Gotham, where you wouldn't normally go, but if you know where to look, you'll find Ramon Vegas.
Petren and Vander head on out into the city. Tock and Augustus await the arrival of the first appointment.
So actually, Tock will be in the bag of holding, and Tick will be providing the automaton assistance for Augustus, because Tick looks like a normal automaton, whilst Tock has made some, obviously, adjustments to himself over the course of the adventure.
Okay.
So, to pass for a normal automaton.
Nice.
Be easier for Tick. Tock will be in the bag of holding, so Tick will carry the bag of holding.
Nice. So it gets around the time of the first appointment, 10 a.m., and a loud bell rings, signifying that there is someone at the front door.
Go for it, Tick.
Tick will go and open the door.
So Augustus will have retired to some grand study so he can sit behind a big desk, and obviously Tick will know where that is.
Tick opens the front door, and stood before him is a giant of a man, as wide as he is tall. I am here to see His Grace, Prince Fabian Augustus Zeno Denoflian.
Tick can't talk, but from the bag of holding behind Tick will emerge a voice saying, "Follow," and Tick will lead said person to Augustus.
Augustus, you see as the corpulent and red-faced Aloysius Cartier-Bouton arrives. He slowly ambles up to an armchair, which creaks as he lowers himself into it.
And Augustus surveys him with a cool and somewhat disdainful eye.
Well met, Your Grace. I'm Aloysius Cartier-Bouton. I've travelled home on behalf of the Vintners Guild of Athlon. I understand you have a penchant for the finest of fine wines, and I wish to gift you this case of Gramplona's finest Rioja. And he lays a case in front of you.
Very well. You have my thanks. And Augustus says no more. He waits for the man's real reason for coming.
We're both busy men of the world, Your Grace, so I will cut to the chase. I hope to come in possession of a number of Chateau Huit de Nock, which, as I'm sure you're aware, is the rarest and finest wine of this fair continent. How, you may ask? Well, I have it on good authority that a number of this almost mythical wine is buried somewhere in the crypts of Frosthollow, alongside the remains of one of our number, a John Flaggenstaff.
Very well, and you need my assistance? You would like me to search some crypts?
No, Your Grace, it's far below someone of your impeccable stature. I will be employing some notable treasure hunters to find these, well, treasures. I suspect an offer of 90 gold coins per bottle should suffice. I suspect there's over 50 of them. Once I have it, though, I would very much like to gift you a bottle in hopes that you would consider offering the Vintners Guild your patronage, just as your father once did.
My father was murdered, sir.
I know, and such a tragic and terrible end to such a great man.
Well, perhaps he made mistakes, and perhaps I should not make the same mistakes. However, I would like to taste a bottle of this fine wine, so if you will present it to me, I will consider your offer.
Of course. It should take no more than a few days. The crypts are just over the river. I shall return once I have it, and you may try it And hopefully, if it lives up to its reputation, then you will at least consider the humble Vintners Guild for patronage.
What else brings you here? Just this? Do you intend to stay in the city for the events to come?
Of course, I would not miss it. The reunification of Cantioch. I've waited for this for 3 decades. It is an honourable and noble thing that you are doing, and you should be held in the highest regard, as if you weren't already.
Tock will, from the bag of holding, send a message by a cantrip, a secret message by a cantrip to Augustus. Crypt, flag and staff, prophecy, evil grows beneath a hill of graves. Treasure and help lies there.
Well, before you leave, Bouton...
Yes, Your Grace.
And Augustus looks impatient, as though he'd wanted this guy to leave from the moment he walked in the door. Where are these crypts? How have they not been explored before?
No, they've been explored many times, but the Vintners Guild is always very careful about where they hide their bodies. I believe it will be deep in the crypts. The entrance, of course, is by the Whispering Lute on the other side of the river. It's just a small entrance, a single gated entrance. I think most here they're superstitious about the dead. They don't like to go down and visit.
Very well. And what role do you see for yourself in this Vintners Guild in a continent under Ericsson?
Well, it doesn't really matter who's in charge. The Vintners Guild survives all comers. The taste for fine wine transcends such things as politics.
Does Ericsson have a taste for fine wine?
As I understand it, Ericsson has a taste for other things.
Augustus nods with a kind of look of, a kind of slightly sour look on his face, like he's tasted something he doesn't like. Very well, Bouton, does that conclude our business?
Indeed it does, Your Grace. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Augustus waves in a way that could mean, don't think anything of it, or it could mean, get out of my office.
And being a expert of the trials and tribulations of aristocracy, he just immediately gets up and hobbles to the front door.
Tick will escort him to the front door and open the door for him.
He will completely ignore Tick and walk out.
Once he's gone, Tock will emerge from the bag, assuming we're alone.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll talk to Augustus and say, Augustus, I believe there is an opportunity.
Yes, Tock?
A party of treasure hunters. We could be hired. It would give reason to explore the crypts.
An interesting possibility, Tock. What do you expect to find there apart from fine wine and dead vintners?
Madame Vastra's fortune. Evil grows beneath a hill of graves where the ancient dead sleep. Treasure and help lies there. The raven can guide you. The dark blade lies with the dead underneath a great mountain. To the north of Frosthollow, there is Everfrost, the great mountain. Under it are the dead, the crypts.
And you think these are the crypts that this man alluded to?
I find that to be likely.
And this dark blade, we were told it was in Ericsson's possession. Why would it lie in the crypts or beneath the mountain?
Unknown. The veracity of the fortune may be tested.
Well, it seems to have served us well so far with the information we found in the room of bottles here. So it's certainly a thread worth pulling.
Vander and Petren, you make your way towards Crickhandle Street, which is the location of all of the finest shops in Frosthollow. Where would you like to go?
I think we're going to go to some place that's like a general store because we need some general supplies for one.
Mm-hmm. Before we go in, I just quickly say to Vander, Vander, I have to admit, what Augustus was saying about silver, I don't carry a bladed weapon myself. I wonder if you wouldn't mind adding that to the list. I don't carry a lot of money. I haven't had much use of money, but if you wouldn't mind just picking up a dagger or a scimitar, sickle, something like that I'd be happy to use that.
I confess you confuse me, Petren. If you do not go armed, how have you been inhuming your enemies until now?
I sort of point to the very large quarterstaff, which is on my back.
Vander smiles wickedly.
There is a lot we can learn from each other, Petren, and I believe you will enjoy the experience of shopping a great deal. Certainly then, let us go and find the right weapon for one such as yourself.
Right, well, lead on.
And Vander strides into the streets looking for, firstly, a general store.
Okay, so you spot Holson's General Stores, which is next to a shop wonderfully titled Fizzit's Wonder Emporium.
Amazing. We enter.
A little bell rings, and there is a young human stood there with very neatly cropped hair, and he's wearing an apron. Hello, how can I help?
Good morning,
Says Vander, shambling in.
We are interested in some general supplies.
My name's Butch Deadlift.
Ah, yes, and this is my associate, Butch Deadlift.
Hello there, Butch Deadlift and friend.
Hello.
He now looks at the two of you for the first time properly. He's like, so what supplies is it you want?
I just look very pleased at Vander, like, aren't I doing a good job blending in?
Vander enthusiastically returns the look and then turns back to the shopkeeper.
A number of unrelated supplies.
And he approaches the shop counter. And I'm going to produce the letter. So on that is going to be a number of items, food, rations, and so forth. But as he flips the note round so the shopkeeper can see it, Vander continues.
There are several additional items I wish to purchase also. But tell me before we engage in the business of the day, I heard some idle gossip on my way here. We are new to this province and heard the rather ridiculous rumor that your benevolent ruler is a vampire. How outlandish. I was wondering what you thought of the rumors.
Of course, there are always rumors around leaders, and I have heard them all, but no, I do not believe that Warden Eriksson is a vampire. Surely you have not been taken in by common chit-chat.
Vander joins him in the laughter they share over the fact of the ridiculous rumor.
Yes, then, so to business. I would like several wooden stakes, a small pewter for melting silver, garlic, if you have any, a mirror, and I don't suppose you have any method for containing sunlight.
He looks at you slightly agog, and then, I can help with everything except for the sunlight. That is not something that is held in general stores. Usually most people will use the sun for sunlight.
Ah, how interesting. Then perhaps you can get me the other supplies.
Again, this is quite a lot. It will cost quite a bit of money. And he looks at the two of you again.
Ah, forgive me.
And Vander produces the note.
Oh, then I shall make sure you have the finest of all these supplies. Please wait here. I shall gather everything on here. And he pulls out a huge ledger, and with a quill and ink pot, he begins to write your names in and then a list of supplies and everything.
Vander pauses him just there.
My employers prefer discretion, if you take my meaning.
Of course, but I need to make a note of how much money is spent so that it can be reclaimed from Warden Eriksson.
Of course, perhaps we may shuffle around some of the names and perhaps some of the items. Maybe a small surcharge will suffice.
And Vander places 5 gold coins on the table.
Give me a persuasion check.
20.
I'm a businessman. What names would you like me to put on here, and what items? Or should I just make it up myself?
Please do feel free to make up the names and ensure they are of a clear local origin. As for the items, please also do the same and make it believable.
Very well. And he crosses out what he's already written and just writes general supplies and then with the total in there. There we are. If you wait here, I shall gather all of the things that you need. And he shuffles off to grab them.
Excellent.
I'll have a look at his ledger to see what name he's written for me.
Of course. He's written Stephen Cowface.
Cowface? Right. I say to Vander, do you think I should be using Stephen Cowface instead of Butch Deadlift? I'm not sure how this works.
No, Butch, I believe you have the perfect name for your stature. Though I concede, we are clearly in the presence of a writer.
Right you are. And are you going by Simon Stubbins still?
For the moment, yes. Though I intend to pass out my name to a precious few.
Right, got it.
You'll learn, patron, that webs of lies are best kept to a manageable size.
And yeah, I look like I'm taking that in and attempting to learn.
Petren, it strikes me that we are about to give you your first weapon. A most auspicious occasion. I don't suppose you have ever frequented a tavern?
No, I know what a tavern is. There was a village not so far from my grove once upon a time, where I used to visit from time to time. So I've seen the tavern. I've not been in a tavern.
How very worldly of you. Well, I suggest we celebrate this little occasion by partaking in a drink of creme de menthe. I would be delighted to show you what you've been missing all these years.
Well, I'm happy to learn about new things. Obviously, mint's a herb that I'm very familiar with, so I've not had it in a drink before, I don't believe. So that'll be a nice, should be fairly familiar, not too far outside my comfort zone, but just something a little bit different.
Well described. We've been tired by shopping. It's time for a break.
And Vander opens the door.
Augustus, Tock, and Tick. There is another ring at the door.
Tick opens the door again.
And Tick is met with a well-dressed man of around 50 years old, accompanied by a beautiful but quite pale-skinned woman. Hello, my name is Castilian Colloon. I'm here to see His Grace.
Again, completely impassively, Tick stands there as a voice from, almost behind him says, "Follow." And Tick turns and leads them to Augustus.
And Augustus, you are now presented with two people. Castilian Colloon is dressed in very fine merchant's wear. His daughter is wearing a flowing dress. He appears to be wringing his hands and mopping his brow as he presents himself smartly with a small nod of salute. Hello, Your Grace. I am Castilian Colloon, the merchant.
Very well. Take a seat, both of you.
This is my daughter, Irina. Well met, Your Grace. Thank you for taking the time with me to meet with us. We would like to discuss the potential trade routes with Denothlia, specifically Gothama. Excuse me, sorry.
Very well. What do you have in mind?
Well, most of the trade throughout Frosthollow and to the wider Lumaton is dealt with by... Sorry, and he mops his brow again and then wipes the sweat from his mouth. I'm sorry, Your Grace, this is embarrassing. And you notice that the woman reaches out and grabs his hand. It's like, oh, thank you. Most of the trade from Frosthollow and Lumaton go through my business, and I am keen to set up ties for all sorts of materials, timber, pelts, syrup from the maple trees, and other such items that can only be found in Lumaton, but which would, I'm sure, fetch a fine price down in Gothama. We could even come visit you down there in your royal palace. Maybe set up a base of operations where Irina, my daughter, could stay for however long is necessary.
Perhaps. I do not see what this has to do with me. This seems like a job for my servants.
Possibly, Your Grace. Can I ask you a somewhat impertinent question?
Well, it sounds like it might break the monotony of the rest of the conversation. Please go ahead.
Do you have a relationship with Warden Wolf Eriksson?
I barely know the man.
I see. So you feel no sense of loyalty towards him?
I'm afraid I cannot answer that. My dealings with Warden Eriksson are professional, not personal.
You see him think for a moment, and then he looks to his daughter, who kind of scans you up and down, and then she gives him a nod, and he throws himself on the floor in front of you. Please, Your Grace, the Warden is obsessed with my daughter. I have to get her to safety. And I feel like you're the only one with the power and influence who can help me.
Okay, so what can I do to try and figure out whether this is genuine?
Give me an insight check, unless you have an ability.
I'm just looking to see if I have anything that would make sense here. I mean, there's detect good and evil, but he's not a monster unless seems unlikely.
What was this guy's name? Was it Collier?
Castilian Kaloon.
Castilian Kaloon.
Kaloon. Okay.
Is there any sense, can I, divine sense, to kind of open my senses and detect any strong good or evil? Would Augustus have a general sense of, is this, basically, I guess I could sense whether this guy was like a vampire, for example.
Yeah.
So can I try to do that?
Yeah. So you open your senses up, when your incredible innate abilities gifted to you by Tyr, to sense whenever there is undead, fiend, or fey in your vicinity. You are getting none of that sense from this person. Everything you see about him tells you that he is a human. You're getting no sense of evil. There is a sense of undead evil coming from outside of your house, but not in the room that you are in.
Okay. Hang on. Makes note to investigate that. Do I have any sense of how close outside the house? Is this in the garden?
It's fairly close.
Undead evil. Okay, so I would like to do an insight check to see whether I think he's lying to me or any of the above. A natural 20 for 24.
He's not lying. You've seen the pathetic form that humanity can take, and this man is desperate, and he's not lying to you, as far as you can tell. That, you are as certain as you can be that this is an honest person being honest with you.
So, Augustus, you will hear in your head another message from Tock from the bag that will say, Augustus, in the human stories and legends, vampires like to feed on human females of a middle to young age.
The fuckers.
I mean, you'll know that, obviously, being a human, but Tock thinks he's on the,
Okay, so Augustus kind of sits back and kind of steeples his fingers and thinks about this, still wary of, still feeling like he's in the enemy's heartland here. But he says, of course, we will help you if we can. You want to get your daughter away from the city.
We even have help available. We just need to get out of the city, which is proving difficult. There is a wanderer in the wilderness who refers to himself as the Winter Raven. He has offered his help to us in the past, but we've been unable to reach him. He sets up camp in the forest to the southeast of here. Less than a day's travel.
And Augustus writes down the word raven and double underlines it in his notebook.
You sense another message coming from Tock.
The airwaves are busy today. Understood. Well, we're in a dangerous place here, as you understand. I have limited power I imagine, to protect you from this Eriksson, but I will do what I can. The group that I travel with do have some power, some capabilities between us. I cannot tell you much of how we came to be here or what we intend to do, but I do not intend to allow Eriksson to take your daughter and bring her to any harm. For now, I think we cannot leave the city, not this morning at any rate, because I have been given some engagements that I think I ought to keep, lest I make Eriksson suspicious. Where can we keep her safe in the short term? Is she in danger today?
We have not come under any trouble when we have been at home. We can wait at our home. It is not far from here, just 2 streets down to the east. We would happily wait there until you are ready to help us.
Very well. We will do what we can for you. Please leave me your address, and I will talk to my companions and see what may be done.
Thank you, Your Grace. Thank you. Hear that, Irina? It's going to be okay. And the doorbell goes.
Tick, please see who's at the door. As Tick's walking past, Augustus kind of leans over as if he's kind of covering his mouth to cough and just goes, "Battle stations, Tock."
Tick will walk over to the door and open it slowly.
And on the other side, you see a tall, lean man in fine clothing. I am here to see His Grace.
Were we expecting another...
We weren't we were expecting lunch next. This isn't lunch. We might be lunch.
You are lunch.
Okay, so Tock from behind Tick will say, "I am unaware of any appointments."
I see. And he steps into the house and moves to go past Tick.
So, I'm thinking that Tick needs to raise the alarm somehow. Okay, so Augustus, again, you hear a message describing the man and saying that he has entered into the property.
Does Augustus have time? Well, he's kind of set up in the study somewhere up in the house, so presumably he has a moment to speak to the others.
Oh, to buy him time, Tock is going to stay behind, say through Tick, "I will lead you to His Grace." And Tick is now going to lead said person to a different location in the house. Presumably there are other locations he's seen that would make sense.
Augustus says to Castilian and Irina, "I think this person at the door may be Ericsson. I will appear to be his ally in the conversation that follows. Please do not read anything into that. It's a long story. I cannot reveal my true intentions."
Yes, Your Grace. Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's all I needed. So let's have whoever this is through the door. Probably quite annoyed about the robot butler who led him around the house.
Yeah, he's visited. He's had quite the tour of several rooms now. Finally, we'll get to Augustus, and he'll say, "His Grace, my apologies for the delay."
Augustus, you watch as a tall, lean man in fine clothing enters behind Tick. He'd almost be handsome, but the details are somehow wrong. He has pale skin and slick black hair to a widow's peak. His face is angular and gaunt, while his eyes sit like 2 jewels of obsidian, empty and foreboding. His gaze falls upon you momentarily, and you feel a shiver down your spine. I do not think much of your Oh, what have we here? Sweet Irina. What a pleasure it is to see you. I had no idea you'd be here. Tell me, will you be in attendance for my coronation? Augustus, you notice that Irina is kind of squirming, and she looks to her father for a moment. No. Look at me. And her back stiffens, and then you hear her say, "Of course, my king. I would not miss it for anything." Well, this is wonderful news. I look forward to seeing you there, but I should not keep you. I have business to discuss with His Grace. Please excuse my rudeness. Enjoy your day, my sweet. He runs his finger down her cheek as Castilian grabs her hand and the two leave the room.
I guess Tick will lead them to the door.
And as Tick leaves, the person shuts the doors behind him.
Great, yes, you focus on your butlering, Tick and Tock. Don't worry about protecting me from this guy.
Well, Tick's just going to return afterwards back in and burst into the rooms because he hasn't been told not to.
My blood-drained corpse really can't abide bad manners, so, let's make sure we see our guests out.
He turns to face you. We have a problem. Your faceache is currently working his way through the forest in this direction. You told me he had been dealt with.
I was assured he had been killed.
Well, he is very much alive, and he's been accompanied by 2 servants. I expected you to deal with him. I have worked with your kind before and been less than impressed with results. I've waited too long to fail now. It is on you to kill the prince and be ready to do your job on the day of the coronation.
It shall be done. There will be no mistake.
Do not fail me, face changer, or you'll find yourself with the same fate as your predecessors.
Augustus bows his head as to a servant to his master.
The simple bow. No, you kneel before Wolf Eriksson.
Okay.
No one's there to see.
But we'll know in our hearts.
Augustus is gonna get out from behind his desk and kneel.
And as you kneel, he strikes you with a backhand across the face.
Do not forget who is in control here. Not even Salazar can enter without my permission, and so if I decide that you are of no use to me, then you will die.
Yes, my lord.
Better.
And he turns and strides and opens the door.
Say where he sees Tick, who's basically just stopped as if short-circuited by the closed door.
Effortlessly, like water, moves around you and then out. And we will end it there.
I was like 80% sure he wasn't going to kill you.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Petren Oakflower, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support. Shay Benton, Sepulchre Stennett, Marky B, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sikora, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, SJ Phionics, Richard Ungermas, Rabbi Camel, Team Stay Toxic, Hearth Pursuit, Paris Pakar, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Mama Strange, Queenie, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
I was going to say, do you remember the name? Or
No, I don't off the top of my head.
St. Brutus's school for
The incurably criminal.
criminal boys.
Do they have any recently executed people hanging outside the school gates?
Well, obviously,
Warning
there's
to others.
at least 4 that have been.
But there's also a sign saying congratulations to our 6th form. Good luck, boys.
Class of
Hang on, I know this
361.
map. We've been here. Oh, fun. Can I tell you a cool thing I heard today?
Okay.
So I was listening to The Rest is History, an inferior podcast to this
Correct.
one, obviously.
This is going into the. So be careful what you say, because I'm putting this at the end.
That's absolutely fine. I very much enjoy all the Rest is podcasts.
I'm going to cut that out.
Terrible they are. It's back in.
You're back in.
Anyway, I heard them talking about the Roman names for parts of Britain, and the Roman name for Cornwall was Balerian, and the Roman name for Kent was Cantian. So, they put these one after another, and I was like, I suddenly have some weird idea that Bellerophon and Cantioch have some sort of link from our story. But yeah, Balerian, Cornwall, Cantian, Kent.
I thought that was awesome, though, from everyone. So thank you very much, guys. And I will leave you on the fact that I've never wanted to voice Cuthbert more. I really want to go, like when you're in a room by yourself, every time that's happening, I want to go, yes, my sweet. The blood moon rises and I command you to spread the blood of the innocent.
If that turns out to be what Petren's all about, it's going to be an incredible shout.
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.